A long, long time ago, planet Earth, our beloved Gaia, was hijacked by dark forces. Living in a lower vibration of fear and duality, destruction was created upon her and her human children were made slaves. Gaia made a call for help, for she wished to ascend and she wanted humanity to rise with her and be free. Starseeds from all over the cosmos who had a deep love for Gaia and humanity heard the call and came from different dimensions and planets to incarnate on Earth and help her ascend. This was a very brave and selfless act to do, for they had to experience the darkness and transmute it from within and shine their light in the darkest of places. Thousands were placed all over the Earth, raising the vibration of the planet and forming a powerful grid of light. And thus, the Gaia warrior was born, an ineffable force of love and light. This is their story.
Everyone, this is Athena from Gaia Warriors, and I'm very, very grateful and honored to be here with some beautiful people that are doing some amazing projects and solutions in Ecuador. And we're going to discuss how we can possibly weave and help each other to get these projects expanded to the rest of the world, to get funding for these projects. And so this is the first time that we're meeting, and I'm really excited and honored to be here. Thank you all for the beautiful work you're doing for our beautiful Mother Gaia. So I'm going to hand over to you, Gary, and you could introduce yourself and perhaps introduce your project.
Okay, thank you, Athena. Cass.
Hi, Linda.
Gary.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Linda.
I'm Gary Phillips. It's hard to know where to start with this project because it is so big and it is growing bigger every day. Started out as a transformation center, but it really is a transformation project to, as I'm seeing it right now, to literally transform Ecuador. There's so much involved with it. I had a good meeting this morning about with some people. There were 4 PhDs in the meeting this morning to talk about how we could begin to set up a production system, growing mushrooms and growing medicinal plants to provide for Walter's extraction plant. And it's really getting exciting. I won't say any more than that.
What are we doing? Introducing ourselves? And what we're doing? Okay. I'm Linda, Gary's wife. Actually, it is. I describe this project as just hanging on to the dragon's tail. It's like it just. And Tess commented yesterday that each time she talks to us, there's a whole bunch of new wonderful things that have happened. And the same thing happened today, listening to Gary about the meeting he had in Ibarra for the mushrooms. I guess in thinking about it, it's like Gary and I have been together for 27 years and dedicated our lives to, I don't know, we call it the healing of humanity through the healing of ourselves. And in that process, all this time of meditating, I've learned that I love myself so much more than I used to. And in that process, it's not been a process of fixing things that were wrong with me as much as transforming things I thought I didn't like into gifts that are actually treasures that have helped me see who I really am and be more than I ever thought I could be. And really that kind of that describes what we're talking about with this project. It's like transforming people in ourselves, in our world, just by accepting more and more of what's going on, not seeing it so horrible and awful or evil, just seeing how everything that happens are little steps to our own growth and understanding of life. So that's what we've been doing, and how this project is unfolding. And there's so many beautiful souls that have been coming together, I guess, really with the same desire. And now we're just all showing up and doing something. The beauty is that it's just unfolding so gracefully and easily right in front of us. For me and Gary, we don't feel like we're doing a whole lot. We're just showing up and playing and loving it.
I love that so much, Linda, what you said. I think that's so beautiful. I think our biggest contribution to humanity and to the collective is our own inner healing, right? And loving ourselves, because so many souls on this planet, I think, have forgotten how to love themselves. So thank you so much for doing that work, because I do feel like the more that we learn to love ourselves and heal the parts and love the parts of us that aren't seen as good or by society or by others, the more that we learn to love those parts and see that the love and the darkness and the shadow and all of it is all source creation. It's all expressing itself through us so that we can learn and grow. So I'm really grateful for you for doing, both of you for doing that work, because it's literally sending ripples out into the collective of healing to the collective, because every one of us that heals ourselves, we make it easier for the next person. So I'm really grateful that you two are doing this. And you know, now that you've come to a place where you feel like you have this self-love and self-fulfillment, now you're in a place where you can be more of service to others. And that's what I see that you're doing with this project. I think what would be great is maybe to, is there anything else you wanted to say, Linda?
No, except for just the piece that we're very clear that it's not us. We're not doing it. It's like things happen so beautifully and easily when we let go and realize that we're just kind of a channel for the energy of the universe, the thing some people call God, or I just call it the source energy moving through us. And as I allow that to unfold, my life is better, and things are just happening. But it's not really me. Unfortunately, I
Yeah,
have to
it's
admit
more,
that.
it's more like you just got out of the way for the divine to flow through.
Yeah.
And that's probably the work of, you know, working through all the programming and conditioning and getting out of the way so that creator can flow through us. And so these beautiful synchronicities and miracles can happen. It's really inspiring. Thank you. I was thinking, because what you two are doing is sort of a culmination of a lot of like the projects of everything together, that maybe we get Walter and Wes to present their projects, and then afterwards we can come back to you and you can say about how it all ties in together.
Sure.
Does that sound good? Should we go to you next, Walter, please? Introduce yourself and is it Lori? Laura. Yeah, if you two could introduce yourselves and the project that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so my name is Wouter, and so I'm from Holland. So it's my name is different in every country, in every community. So I'm thinking with where to start, because of course there's a whole life that brought us towards like the beginning of this project. But I like to still pick the beginning. That was my search and encounter. I think for me it started very much like my through my first ayahuasca ceremony in the jungle of Colombia, where I found the first time, I think, a very, very deep connection, a very deep love for nature, and also for also respect for the indigenous cultures that have protected. So this culture of using medicinal plants, in this case it was then mostly ayahuasca. And I remember that ceremony, I ended up on my knees saying, so being grateful, and also like, so speaking out the decision to, so what can I do? So what can I do in this to bring this also to my own culture? Because so many people need it so much also to also feel more to be part of this beautiful creation that so more beautiful than we will ever understand. And I think that was the beginning for us to more and more start working with plants and also connect with different indigenous communities. So this started very simple because we had a motorbike and little money. So we went like also with Gary already 10 years ago or so by bus to the Amazon to find plants. And sometimes we even didn't get the right plants because we didn't really know what we were doing. And but we managed to build up a company which basically just grew plants or work with indigenous. They collected the plants, we would receive them, dry them, and send them all over the world. Started with eBay, then a web shop, then wholesale to herbalists, to people that made extractions, ayahuasca centers and other medicinal centers. And this brought us at some point also to who's now partner in our new project, who makes wonderful extractions on the technology that it's not his technology, but he developed the whole process around ultrasound technology, which is a very clean way to make a full spectrum concentrates of plants, also without using heat, without using chemicals. So what we are trying to do, or what he was doing already for 27 years, was to stay as close as possible to how nature has evolved, and bring and make extracts out of that, and also blend them together into different medicinal solutions, which can be put into drinks, which can be put into food, basically anything. And so we were so enthusiastic about this also by tasting like how close it was to just go to your garden and try a plant from what he was doing. So we decided to team up and build a laboratory here in the jungle so we could have a bigger impact. So work more with indigenous communities, let them grow more different plants with the ultimate goal of helping create a bioeconomy which is based on the knowledge mostly of indigenous communities, but also helping indigenous communities to have a healthy, sound, sustainable economy out of the ecosystems that they are protecting. And as I just recently came across an article that indigenous communities around the world, they protect 85% of biodiversity when they're only 4%, 4.5%, I think, of the total world population. So these people have a way to, which is much more evolved to live in harmony with nature. And so they have been the protectors, of what I think is my colleague, so my partner always calls it the El Dorado, that the Spaniards were looking for when they came to the Americas, is not the gold, it's the biodiversity, it's the richness in the cultures, and the many colors and many different pieces of nature that you find here. And so what we're trying to do is bring these communities the knowledge and also the world, so together, that is looking also for medicinal solutions that truly work, that can really keep you healthy, can be your partner, can be your ally in being a happy, balanced person. So we are now at a stage that we have a laboratory already, so we're making, I think, some of probably the highest quality extracts you can make with some plants that people don't even know yet. And we are now at a stage that we're looking to see how we can team up with people from different areas, like Wes and Gary, you, because also we need to get this story out. So in order to really create an economy that is based on respect and love and
weren't they called
and nature, so we need to work together with as many colors as we can find in nature. So that is I think what has brought us here to have a chat with you guys and see so how we can work together to bring this beauty.
It was on mute.
Yeah,
just the last
I don't know exactly what you What did you miss?
No, just the last part, the last second.
Yeah, so I think so what has brought us here is, I think, this common urge and that we see in bringing together many different projects so we can all stand stronger and make the impact bigger, and also help create a future that will work for humanity, hopefully for many generations to come. And not only for humanity, but of course also for nature and all the animals and spirits that are around. So I think that is what we have been doing in a nutshell.
Wow.
I think that covers most everything. Yeah. I like that.
Me too.
Walter, that was truly amazing. What an amazing story. I love hearing how you commune with the plants yourself, and communing with the plants really brought you this sense of enlightenment or spiritual growth, that you had a consciousness evolution with the plants, and you felt so called to bring this to the other people in the world that really need this. Because I'm really seeing like the plants are our allies, and the indigenous people have lived so much in harmony with the plants and in the forest. And that I'm seeing that a lot of what I feel is a lot of suffering in the world is because we've lost our connection to the earth, and we've lost our connection to these plants. And these plants are the medicine, and they've really helped us evolve and grow along the way. And so I'm really inspired by the fact that you had such a profound experience, and then you immediately thought, like, how can I be in service? How can I use this experience that I just had to share with the rest of the world? And that is true service, right? And I just wanted to say, I wanted to ask you a question about the indigenous people and your sort of connection with them, because what I've been told that there's a lot of mistrust with the indigenous people and sort of outsiders, because we've had many outsiders or corporations go into the forests and cause a lot of destruction and extraction with taking things out of the forest. And what I've been told, I used to work for Greenpeace for 4 years, and we got told that only 1% of all the plants in the rainforest have been tested for cures. And they found one of the plants they found recently was a flower that has a 75% chance of healing leukemia. So that's just one flower. And if only 1% has been tested, it just makes me feel like there's just a whole array of wonderful medicinal plants there that could heal so many cures and so many diseases on this planet, and really take away from the pharmaceutical industry, which someone told me it's the harmaceutical, which is kind of what I agree, because not all Western medicine is bad, but it's a lot of it has been corrupted because of the greed and the power and the money in that industry, that there is an addictive quality to it. So I think what you're doing is so important to bring the medicine, the pure herbs and plants out into the Western world. And so I'm wondering, how does your connection or communication with indigenous go with getting this information? Because obviously you had to find out from them which ones were good, right?
Yeah. So at the end, I always like to say that we just follow the logic that opens up in front of us. If you go to an indigenous community and your goal is to fill your pockets and steal their knowledge, the wise ones among them will notice that immediately. But if you go there with your heart in your hands, and you also show, look, I'm here with good intent. I share your love for nature. I respect your culture. I respect what you do. I understand also that you are confronted with challenges like.
Sorry, it got muted again.
Sorry. Until where did you hear what I said?
That you're building a really beautiful relationship with the indigenous and you're telling them that you respect their culture.
Yeah, so at the end, if you just go there with good intentions, you will come across people that also have good intentions, and they will know that they can trust you. So we have had So we started working 12 years ago with, it started, I think, mostly with one guy that I really connected with. This guy was so shy. He didn't look at me. He hardly talked, but it was clear immediately that, so that I really wanted to work with him, because we had been trying. Also, Gary was once there also. So with different people, but it was all like not completely what we were looking for until this guy. But he was so shy. He didn't talk. He didn't look. But so I went to him and I said, look, I'm here to work with you. And I hope after that my children will work with your children. And now this guy has been, over 10 years, we have been working with this guy. Now his brothers and sisters work with us. His nephews, the whole, because some of them come from other tribes. So it's just spreads like that. And if you just treat them with and give them the respect that they deserve, and that of course we all like to receive, that has been, yeah, mostly how we managed to get also their trust. Yeah, so just the last time we were there a few weeks ago, they came across, they said, we had an elderly, and he was at the end of his treatment. He had cancer. It was like over. Yeah, he couldn't do anything anymore. He couldn't stand anymore. We went into a ceremony, and in the ayahuasca ceremony, the plant told us, use that plant to heal him. Yeah, so they went to that plant, but they were just taken there. They gave the guy that plant, and he's now like back to work and everything, this guy. So that's how amazing. Yeah, so the magic also that is there, which I think is also very important for people around the world. Like for a lot of people, yeah, the magic has kind of, they don't believe in it anymore. So it's just what they see. It's just the facts. And there's a lot of confusion at the end, I would say, in people, and also in the pharmaceutical industry. So because they base 90% of the chemical medicine is based on the plant. But what they do, so they make one huge mistake, besides all the greed, etc., that's involved, and that they make more money when you get more sick because you spend more on their pills. But one of the mistakes, and Wes also, we had a chat about that also with Wes yesterday, is that a plant has evolved for millions of years into what it is today. Yeah, and instead of us, when we don't understand anything really about what's really going on in that plant and why it has evolved this way, but we do know that it consists of many, many different parts, a plant. Like a human being, it's much more than just your mood or like one cell. And so, and these parts of which many we don't even know how to identify, they play together and are in balance. Yeah, that's why also the plant is in balance. What the pharmaceutical industry does when they come across guayusa, for example, they say, oh, energy. Let's see what's in there. They find caffeine, they find theobromine. They say, oh, we have to just so synthesize that so we can patent it. And then we give it to the people in the form of a pill, and they say, look, this is for energy. Or they do the same for pain. But they take only one part out of an entire being. Yeah, that is so much more than just that one thing. And it's always toxic if you take just one part, because it's out of balance. And that is one of the mistakes that they make. And that's why it's so important to, as much as possible, work with the entire plant, so it can really heal you, and it will not make you sicker. Or it will maybe heal one or solve one part, but it will cause somewhere else a problem.
Wow. I love that story of the healing the man with the cancer. That is so powerful. And something that I'm really passionate about is, like you said, is bringing back the magic, the mystical to the world, and helping people realize that it's there. We just have to be open to receiving it. And so when you spoke about that, because I know a lot of the shamans and a lot of the indigenous people have such a powerful connection to the plants, that the plants speak to them and they tell them, use me for this and use me for that. In that ceremony, who was it that received that information from that plant to give to that guy? Because what I'm trying to discover is that a thing that the indigenous are the only ones that have that accessibility of speaking to the plants because they've lived in right harmony with the nature, and people that have been out of the forests have kind of lost that connection or is it, or are they, everyone's able to receive it when they have that medicine of the ayahuasca, which opens us up and connects us to our true nature?
Well, I think so. My the partner in the laboratory, he has also a laboratory in Switzerland, and he gives their like medicine plant walks through the Alps. So he takes groups of 13 people and walks through, depending on the season. Yeah, he goes to a certain part in the mountains, and he asks the people to please also pick a plant or show a plant that is somehow calling their attention, and then he. Well, the question that he asked them, okay, that plant, so can you tell me something about yourself? And then a person says, for example, oh, I have colon problems or stomach issues, I can't sleep. And in many, many cases, he says, that plant that they're holding could help them with exactly that problem. Yeah, and there's many
Wow.
stories. Some people have on a balcony one plant, they are fighting cancer, yeah, until someone finds out, look, that plant is, in some cases, can help to get rid of cancer. So the plants are really reaching out to us. They want us to respect them. They want a relationship with us. But we should not turn the back on them or trust the so the pharmaceutical companies that just want to make money to somehow be the filter. No, we have to, so reach out to nature directly and with good intent, and then what the incredible possibilities will open up.
That's very powerful. Oh my God, I got, chills in my body when you said that. And I don't know if you've read the book Anastasia, but they talk in that book how if you take a seed of a vegetable and you put the seed in your mouth, your saliva and your DNA will match with the plant, with the seed. And so that when you grow that seed, it will then grow to your specific DNA, and it will bring the nutrients that you need for your specific DNA. And so it's really powerful to hear that about the plants and how much medicine they have, and how much, plants are consciousness, they're alive and they're speaking to us, and we need to listen, because that's how we will then we will heal ourselves, and we will heal the earth if we become in right relation and harmony with the plants again. So thank you for sharing that. It was very inspiring and amazing. And what you said about
the only way. It's the only way for us as humanity to survive. If we don't do it, it's going to be very complicated.
Right. And what you were saying with the pharmaceutical industry, where they extract just one thing, they like you said, not using the whole intelligence of the whole plant, but they're also using it as a commodity to sell to people, patent it, own it. And then I find that what they're also doing is people are getting addicted to these things, where people don't get addicted to plants, but they get addicted because they put certain chemicals in these pharmaceuticals that people start having to rely on it. And like, I know somebody that's been on pharmaceuticals for 50 years and she's still not better, because it's not actually, pharmaceuticals aren't there to heal the root cause. It's just there to help with the symptoms. And so what plants do, like ayahuasca and a lot of other plants, is you're able to go to the root cause of the illness and not just the symptoms of it. And so it helps you to heal the root of it. And that's what I think plants have different to what you can get from the pharmacies, right?
I just want to say something really quickly, Walter. That was so moving to me too. Thank you so much. The wisdom in the last part of what you said is just amazing. And I just felt my mind just kind of expanded in another direction with what we're doing. To me, helping people understand just those two things you said, and even giving workshops and having walking tours here in the jungle and being with the plants, that can be just as big a part of what you're doing or we're doing as is making the extracts and sharing them with the world. That is so beautiful, because when Tess asked that question, I felt like the answer for me that came was that, of course, all of us can do that. We've forgotten so much about our true nature. We're all indigenous. I consider myself indigenous. My background is definitely not very far removed in generations from many indigenous people, Indian, Irish, French. So we've all got that ability, and that's really an amazing area to explore and share. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think the only difference between us, I mean, we're all indigenous, but the only difference is that we have an amnesia where we've forgotten, right? And indigenous still remember. They remember their magic and their relations and the spirit of the plants, and they have this relationship with the earth where we've been so disconnected, living in cities, living in buildings and concrete. And so that connection, we need to bring back that ancient wisdom of the plants and the people that are the right stewards, the first peoples that are living in right relation. And like you said, Linda, like I feel like Europeans got colonized maybe 1,000 years before the indigenous of the Americas did. So we've all been colonized, we've all been westernized, we've all been removed from our true nature. And, even in Europe, witches got hung because they had a really amazing relationship with the plants and they were doing what was called magic, and people were scared. And the Roman church and all of that was saying that the witches were evil and all these things. And so this sort of system has kind of on purpose to control us, removed our ability from our connection from nature and from the plants. And so what I see is what we're all doing here today is to bring that back, right? That remembrance. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think we're just more confused than most of the indigenous are, which is of course also, yeah, so like the systematic programming and disconnecting us also from nature, which has so there's many people that are still very much connected, of course, but the majority of people have also been very much disconnected from nature. And there's of course for some among us that like power and money, etc. It is very important if you want to have power over people, manipulate them, you need to disconnect them from nature. So there's very strong forces behind it, and politically, but also business-wise, etc. Because the more disconnected we are, the more enslaved we are, basically. And but time of slavery should end very soon, because we are really now, I think, in a moment of time that if we don't wake up and if we don't reconnect, so yeah, we're gonna auto-destruct.
Awesome. Thank you. Beautifully said, Walter. Thank you. Could we go over to Wes next, so you can tell us about your project?
Well, I don't know if there's anything left to say. I think Walter and that's pretty much covered most things. I guess I think if as you get older, you think what really describes who I am, and what really do I care about? What do I value? What am I about? And I'd say the two words that come up for me are culture. And culture, I'm not talking about society. I'm talking about culture, deep culture, and so and nature. And that's what drives me. And so the connection to those things and the learning from those things is what I value. So everything, of course, that he just said, I would say kudos and absolutely agree 100%. And then about 30 some years ago, I met my wife, Susan, and she had stage 5 cancer, which you don't usually, they don't even stage 5 anymore. They only stage 4 and you go home. So she had 5, lived through that, and was written up in journals and lived through that. And through that process, became in touch with herbs and then essential oils, and then, from Bach remedies, every other kind of natural thing that could be done. There's a lot of her healing came through that avenue. And so, and also didn't, find being in the medical system and trying to deal with that, what she went through from that was a lot of learning. So that set me also, I'm basically do a lot of research. So I went to find things that plants, could help solve. And then we'd formulate things and do things like that. So we've been doing that 20 or 30 years. And so that's our connection to a lot to what has already been said. And I think then I came to Ecuador 15 years ago, and I've not been in Africa, that's the only really thing I haven't explored, but Asia pretty fully, and Europe and everywhere else I've been. And it's the only place I've ever felt at home. And I was born in America, but it's never felt like home. And I think for the very reasons that he just so eloquently expressed, that and as I've gotten older, I think it was pretty much an intellect a lot of my life, but as I've gotten older and with Susan's help, I really have dropped down into my heart. And I think what he just said is true about the indigenous. They're very intuitive and they're very in their heart. If you're very intuitive in your heart and you don't have a head coming along with you, if you don't have an agenda there, I think that's how, and it's natural they would have distrust because of what they've been through. But if you don't have an agenda, then it's not too much a problem. And over time, you will develop that bond if you're not impatient because you have an agenda. So I think that's really critical, what he said, and important. And like you said, come in with your heart in your hand. That's a great way to approach all of this and be open and not think we know anything. So I've learned to not really value my head so much anymore, but I value my heart really tremendously, and also the intuition. And so I learned a lot from being around the indigenous and have tremendous respect for those old cultures and what they still have knowledge in many cases, and they're just so much closer to nature. So I think yeah, not much more to say. That he's covered most anything I could say. I would agree with him completely. And I just I think it's so important, and I would, there's no way to put words to where we're at right now as a planetary species. And so many people think they're worried about the planet. I don't have any concern. I know the planet will take care of itself one way or another if it gets rid of us and we quit destroying it. But I am concerned about the human race, and I am concerned for people who really do have a heart for nature and for how things have been created, to preserve that creation and on every level. And so that's where my heart is. That's where I want to be doing work. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a bit, like I said, he's covered anything I would say, so he covered it very eloquently. And so I don't know that I have much to add to that. Yeah.
Wes, I'm curious about, you said about your wife and she had stage 5 cancer. How did the plants come to her? Because you said that she was able
Well, there's
to.
she was living in Boulder, Colorado at the time. There was a German leukemia nurse that moved to the United States, Hannah Kroger, and she would work with the Native Americans and herself. She was very intuitive and would and use the plants and the herbs and everything, and made things for people, and would be able to tell what was going on with them, what did they need, and she would tell them. She also had a herb store that she made, and so she had the herbs made there so people could come get them at a decent price. And so she could see what was going on, what they need. She'd tell them, like writing a prescription, but it was her herbs. And she actually got in trouble for practicing medicine, and they took her to court and tried to stop her. But I don't think if you have a good attorney, that's too much problem, because really medicine is only drugs and surgery. That's all it is. So they don't even deal with that. So how they can tell you you're practicing medicine if you're not doing surgery and drugs, I don't know. But she got through that. But she got Susan through the cancer with herbs. And I think, as we all know, I'm not saying anything anyone here doesn't know, but everything that comes into the physical came out of the spiritual at some point, or where there's something that hasn't been taken care of and cleared, then if you let it go too long, it'll come into the physical. And so all the work needs to be spiritual, because we're spiritual beings. But if we don't take care of it, it'll come into the physical. So we're also able to help people with the things that nature has given us, and is so. We have something. Our work, our company that we do that with, is called Sacred Gifts. And I think that's what they are. They're sacred gifts that we get, and then we can use those to heal the physical. But if that's all we do, like medicine does, they just look at that, healing symptoms, we're never really going to be healthy or really healed. So I see it as an overall thing. You work from the spiritual, take care of those things, get those cleared out, so that's clean. And then if you still have some physical that has already manifested, you take care of that very elegantly. And then from there on, and she's been now 35, 40 years cancer free. So and healthy.
Wow.
No, she has great gifts to give back. She's become a great healer and very intuitive and has helped many people with cancer and other diseases. We get calls all the time. So, and of course, COVID, wow, we really were certainly used during that time. So we're just grateful to be able, however we can, to give the gifts and the knowledge that we're getting, or like everyone else that we find is getting, that's pure, that comes direct. It's a direct. I don't need the intermediaries too much. I love when it comes direct from nature or direct from the learning of people in nature. And so, yeah, I think that's a short version of what I'm about. This subject, it could go on for days.
Thank you, Wes. I really appreciate
I'm so much older than everyone else. I was just thinking where he's talking about 40 years ago, I would be saying the exact same things he's saying. I've just had another 40 to maybe drop down into the heart and drop closer to nature and drop closer to all these things. So it's just so important. And I know when we were in Ecuador, one of the first times Susan was there, we went by, we walk a lot. We were walking by a little farm in Cotacachi, and the man was out there with the thing on his back spraying chemicals, and it broke our hearts. I can't, it almost makes me cry today. It was probably 10 years ago. It just breaks our hearts to see what's happening, the way the world's being destroyed, and living things are, they're anti-nature. So that's a real something we have to focus on what we can do and not get caught up in what's in the destruction that's going on. So that's really our commitment, and our goal is to stay focused on what we can do and what things that nature's given us as gifts to use to do that. And that's what we're doing.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing about your wife Susan and her transformation. I love hearing how they took her to court, and that for me is like a real warrior that is like using the medicine to heal and using the plants and the knowledge of the indigenous and ancient wisdom to heal people. And that's obviously a threat to the system. And so the system tried to confront her, and she was able to go to court and win. And that's very inspiring and very, she's a warrior.
Yeah,
So
she was quite something. Yeah, she was quite
yeah.
little lady and spoke German more than English. She didn't speak real well English, but she was yeah, she was really something. So we were fortunate Susan was fortunate to start with that as a beginning background. And when you face death like that, I think, and come out the other side that way, you have a different perspective and a different thing. And we just lived through an accident that should have been fatal to me for sure a year ago, and I'm still here, so I know there's work to do. So I'm on borrowed time, but I'm just grateful each day to be able to do what I can to advance everything that we're discussing.
Well, the universe clearly needs you still here. The planet Earth needs you still here. So thank you for being here. I really love what you said. I read a book called Caroline Myss called Anatomy of the Spirit.
Yeah,
And she
I know
says
Carolyn, yeah.
Yeah, and she says how your biography becomes your biology. And so all trauma, like you said, from the spiritual actually manifests in the physical. And that's why it is so important that when we're doing the healing work, we're not only healing the physical ailments, we're actually healing the spiritual, the trauma, the emotions, the blocked emotions of trauma that have been stored into our body. And that's why it is, like you said, it's a spiritual and physical healing that needs to take place. And the pharmaceutical industries are only focusing on the physical and the symptoms and not the core.
I'm not even sure anymore. In the last few years, I'm not even sure they're focusing on any of that. I think it's more destruction and money. And there is certainly a depopulation agenda in that complex and many other people in the world. So, and that's what we've created. And yet you just can't, we work to not get caught up in that, because that doesn't take us anywhere. But Susan said once, I hadn't known her that long, and she said, if she can affect one person, that's, and so I tend to look on a big picture, but if we look one to one and we help people one to one, that in the end we can get there. But so I think that's true.
That's awesome. I think this is oh, sorry, Walter, go ahead.
Well, so what pops up had a story that you tell when, so you see these farmers spraying the earth when they are supposed also to work with the earth, but they have been programmed into seeing almost nature as their enemy. Yeah, so that's also what is a problem with many of the people that go for herbal solutions. So if you want to go cheap and easy, you buy something that comes kind of out of the same kind of economy. Yeah, so many of these plants are also like living as slaves in monoculture, the same crop year after year after year on the same land. Maybe it's certified organic, but they can still do a lot of tricks, and it's still monoculture, and the soil can still be polluted. Yeah, that doesn't cover the organic certification. So to have a true medicinal plant, this plant needs to be in healthy soil. It needs to be with its trees, the bushes, the worms in the ground. It needs to be a complete, healthy, integral system to be a happy plant. And a happy plant, that is true medicine. Yeah, so there's a big difference to a ginger that comes out of a toxic ground in India, or a ginger that has grown in the Amazon rainforest and has just have had all this richness around it, good energy, clean water, etc. Loving full hands. Up to that point, it's important. So that's also what we're trying, and we think Ecuador is somehow, it's just the best place to start, it seems. So there is still a lot of this beauty and nature, and there is still enough of the knowledge, but we need to somehow manage to organize it and to connect the dots so we can supply the world with true health, and also give a sound economy that will work not only for the people today, but also for next generations. Yeah, and in the meantime, protect these beautiful ecosystems. Yeah, so we can regrow them and undo the damage if we just use the knowledge that we have and follow the logic that is unfolding in front of us.
Wow, Bolt, I've never actually thought of it like that, of how the plants, the monoculture is using the plants in a slave-like mentality. I never made that connection before. And I've seen that with the animals. That's why, I'm a vegan. I can't eat animals because of how they're treated is so bad. And now I'm like, oh my God, the plants aren't treated very well either. What am I meant to eat? But we have to.
Well, I think he hit on a really important point, and I've done 20 or some years of work with soil because, our microbiome, our gut, which is a base of our health, is so identical to the soil. In fact, you can use soil-based organisms to help repair your gut, because when you study both of them, they're so much alike that there's just tremendous things right there, tremendous knowledge to be learned just by knowing how to get soil back to its original state and have it be a full microbiome, the same way you would try to do with your gut. They're just, you almost think you can work in the exact same way because they're both so closely aligned. And then we also have so many receptors, and there is some progress a bit in that area of study to where we're learning about receptors that are in our body, and they're matching up now to these plants that we're finding, and that we probably never really even lived our full potential because we weren't addressing these issues. Maybe the indigenous have been, but as a normal, other than the indigenous, the cultures that I know about in the society for sure isn't. It doesn't even look at that. So we're so connected to nature. Soil is a base. You don't have good soil, you don't have good plants. You don't have good plants, you're not going to be fully healthy as you could be. That's the basic. It all starts right there. So what he just touched on is a tremendous, critical, important part. And in Ecuador, it's easy, but you come to the US, not an easy thing there. And so we do some work with things here, helping farmers, help people here trying to produce, to get the soil back so they don't need all these other inputs. They don't need all those other things. So the soil is the base, yeah, and we have just not honored that. And it's been such a missing piece, I think. The plants are all important, and people, like you said, get the plants, oh, look at this. But if it wasn't grown in the right soil, it doesn't have that synergy in it any more than we have if we use a single part of the plant. So I think it's just a critical. I'm not as eloquent as he is, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, totally, Wes. I totally agree. The soil is everything comes from. We have to start from the ground up, right? That's the base of everything. And I see that's why I try to support local farmers as much as possible. And I'm working with an Indigenous here who told me that back in the day, the Indigenous would get everything they needed within a 10-mile radius. And so to eat as local as possible, we're meant to eat what's local. We're meant to eat what grows around us. And it's been so distorted. We're eating things from different places around the world, and it's not actually that good for our bodies. And that's why I think native plants are so important. Just like Walter was saying, the biodiversity of getting the native plants. When you grow the other plants, it brings this richness of the soil and the nutrients of the biodiversity. And that's why it's so important for us to really go back to the native plants, the native way that we all used to live on this planet. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. I feel like this is a beautiful segue to go into Gary and Linda, because I feel like everything, you guys are the connection between all of us. And so I'd love to hear how this has all transpired, your connection.
I would like to say a part of our project as well.
Yeah, please, Laura, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I also wanted to introduce myself. My name is Laura, Wouter's wife, and I am an ecologist from Colombia. So since very young, I had this very strong sorrow about nature. So my love for nature started through the sorrow. So it was not very healthy for me or very encouraging. So that's why I decided to study ecology, and I really loved it. But still, it comes from this relationship of nature that they put us. It comes from the separation, from the fear, from the scarcity, from the destruction. Like that's the whole news they put about what we do is if we care about Earth. So when we met with Wouter, we had this very strong feeling of having like just do beautiful projects. We at the beginning call it bridge projects. If we will go to South America and find ways to connect, we still didn't know what exactly, but nice things. We had very, very nice dreams about working with different communities, different tribes, but we didn't know yet what. And what Wouter described that through our first ceremonies together with ayahuasca, things started getting more clear. And to summarize a bit, to get to, in these 15 years, many things have happened. But we are together, and we also have 3 kids. So in all this movement of not feeling guilty about our happenings, not having this sorrow about the separation with nature, but working the opposite, connect with nature and feeling this beautiful responsibility of doing something nice for people and for the earth, whatever we can. So with this mentality, things have always just grown in a nice, steady way. And now we have a farm that is very beautiful in the tropical rainforest that is called Munai. That Munai means love. And we have these 3 beautiful children, but we are also in difficult times in which, I don't know, I always repeat that back in the days, for the good and for the bad, people could trust. They could trust the church, they could trust the government or the monarchy, the educational system, the medicine system. Everybody had a lot of trust, like in a wrong way, whatever, but you could just live your life and not worry so much about these institutes. Now we are in a moment that if you wake up a little bit, you see you cannot trust any of those systems. So then you have kids and it's like, okay, you don't trust the schools, you don't trust, so you can also not become a very weird person. So you need to work and do something nice. So that's what we decided, instead of complaining or getting sad about it. It's also not going into denial of what is happening, but just do our part. Then one of the things that we have created in these years has been a forest school for children, in which they connect with nature and they do activities in the forest to just be happy and get to each other. And the classes have been very beautiful about comparing themselves with the trees, so getting to know everything about photosynthesis and the trees and the roots and the fruits by knowing their body. So everything they learned in the forest was connected with their emotions or their physical body. So to connecting, and these guys have had Ayurvedic medicine, the speeches to them. So friends, every time we met a friend and done something nice, so we connected with something they are learning and try to give them that that class. So they have seen many things. They have also done extracts and essential oils, and so in very different ways they have been connecting with nature. So my very good friend that has been the teacher in the forest school once told me I was very sad about what is happening in the world. It happens every now and then, comes back, that sorrow. And she told me something very beautiful and said, Laura, don't worry. You also don't go in denial, but when death comes to find us, or the darkness comes to find us, because it could also find us, you know what? She will find us giving a lot of love. And that is nice. And then I saw the image like, yeah, if something ugly comes to find me, or death, which is not ugly, just a beautiful friend as well, when she comes to find me, she should find me giving love, not only to my family, but the people who work with me and the children that come to school and the plants around. So this has been very important part of our project. And all of this happens in the same farm where we are shipping and drying plants and planting, and we have the greenhouse. We have also done a lot of things for recovering the soil. Here was a grassland for cows, and yeah, we have done a lot of experiments to recover the soil, and some more successful than others, but the farm looks like a forest already. It's next to a very clean river. So it's very beautiful, and that responsibility has been taken very serious. And in the moment we are now is basically, yes, working with medicinal plants. In the short, what we do is we work with these indigenous friends that these years have become friends. We dry plants, we ship, and some of these plants we make them in extracts. So it's technically quite simple, but at the end, what is behind every single step is very beautiful and very like full of small details that I think make the difference. And that's why I when I saw your brand or your name, like Gaia Warriors, I like it very much because, yeah, it's not to go in denial that nothing bad is happening. No, a lot of very sad things are happening, but we also have the right, it's like the right at birth. We have the right to see the fruits of our dreams. And we have the right to connect with those people that are doing that, like also are doing beautiful things for, because it's like the news, the government, everybody is like trying to steal the right from you. You should not be happy because look what is happening. You should not do this because you should not have, you should not be abundant because everything is scarce. You should not connect with nature because you are separated from it. And we come from that, no? Scarcity, separation. So yeah, we really connect, just beautiful things happen. And this thing that Wouter says, that if you come with your heart open, beautiful things happen. Yeah, sometimes people come that don't have good intention, but yeah, it happens. You are protected. It's difficult to say. And just to finish a little bit with the plants, because of all these years working with plants, I had a very beautiful experience once in a ceremony that I went through my garden, because we have a very beautiful garden. And then I said during Aja ceremony, said, you know what is my dream? My dream is to be able to talk to you guys. I said out loud with my voice to the plants. And I felt so silly to say that, but I really wanted to say it was like asking for a superpower or something like that. I was so funny because the answer came immediately and without any, like, there was not a delay in 1 second. There was a laugh, and after the laugh, it says, we have always been talking to you. And I was like, oh, it's so beautiful, and it's so true. And now there are a lot of beautiful studies about like people trying to scientifically prove that the plants talk, because we know they do, but some people from this side separation need to see it as a result of an experiment that is controlled and repeated. And we can do it now. So it's a hard moment, but it's also a very beautiful moment to be alive. That's what I told my kids. I always tell my kids when I get a bit worried also. Say, look, whatever it is, I think it's a very exciting time to be alive. So let's do our best and connect with beautiful things always. And that is what we can do. That's our gift. So very excited to be here and to see the name of your project is also very inspiring.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate you.
Bravo.
That.
I have to say, I don't mean to interrupt and jump in here, but it's something that's come to my attention the last few weeks. And I guess people like Elon Musk and different people are saying, he goes to conference and they're talking about all these things. He said, you don't understand. He said, if we don't get the birth rates up, you guys are talking about this and that, and this is going to happen. He said, there won't even be people here to experience it anyway, because the birth rates are so low that literally within a few generations, there just won't be any more people. So I wasn't even aware of that. So there's things that, so what you're doing is really beautiful and wonderful. You have children, you're doing your part. So I just say, bravo. For both of you, that you're doing that, raising children connected to nature. You can't do better than that. You're doing the highest level work on the planet. So, bravo.
And I think it's very important that people also, because instead of going into depression, to just start working with what you have around you. That's basically what we have been doing, and also to so open a path. So sometimes I see it like that, and I feel many people are looking for a path that is healthy, where you are loved, where you are safe, where your children have a future. They're just so confused that they don't know what's up and down. So I think it's very important that people that do know, or at least have some feeling of orientation in all of this, start creating this, and also that we give each other also the hope and support that it is worthwhile, even when the planet ends tomorrow. But I hope they should find us healthy and happy and vibrating at a very high level. And yes, I think it's really a time now to connect all these people around the world that are dreaming and are doing their best, also that they know they're not alone. And nature is completely with us. It wants to connect with us. It wants to be one with us. It is already, but so that we also realize that every step we take. So I think it's there's very beautiful work ahead, and we are just trying to make a beginning, and hopefully it will be picked up by many others and by our children. So even more beautiful things come out.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Walter, because if everybody just did in their own community, I feel like a lot of people are overwhelmed by the world. There's so much going on in the world that needs repair or fixing. But if everybody just started with their own community, then the whole world would change. That's all we have to do, is focus on what we can see in front of us. And what I felt inspired to do, because I was working for Greenpeace and I was like, we have to save the planet. We have to save the planet. And then I had an awakening and I realized we don't need to save the planet. We need to heal humanity so humanity can treat the earth better, because the planet's fine. The planet is resilient. It's been around for billions of years. It's the people that need healing in order to treat the planet better. And so that's what I feel called to do, is, like you said, is gather all the people around the world and connect us all the ones that have this dream to create a new heaven on earth, a new paradigm, and connect us all and allow people that haven't started to feel hope and inspiration that, what can I do? If they see all these people like you, what you're doing, it's inspiring, teaching the children. That's so inspiring. The children are the future. They are the ones that we need to focus on with the education, connecting them to the forest. So I know many people are going to be inspired by what you and Laura are doing. And it's just, you guys are just doing it in your own community, and it's so powerful. So I'm really grateful for the both of you for doing that. Thank you. Oh, you're muted again there. I wonder why.
So just following the logic. There is no other path for us. That's also, of course, so the ayahuasca medicine for us really has helped us a lot also in the moments that we are confused. But so if you just, I think, so it kind of begins with going on your knees and instead of pretending that you are some kind of a godly being that decides everything. No, it's on your knees and say, thank you. What can I do to contribute to this incredible, beautiful creation that just keeps creating? So And once you put yourself in service, somehow the path, it just opens up in front of you. But this going on your knees, and which at the end also is a huge relief, because you don't need to carry it all. You're not, you're not, how do you call it? You're not really creating. You're just passing on. You're receiving, and that things pass through you. So yeah, we are just trying to do that as good as possible, and to receive and let go of things as respectful and as beautiful as we can, with all the limitations that we also have because of the traumas of ourselves and of our communities and the worries, etc. But I think this process of harmonization, that goes on forever, and it's also a beautiful process, but it's also a painful process sometimes, because sometimes you're sad or angry. And I think one of the mistakes in current culture is this idea that you need to be happy all the time and that you are then strong, etc. So when growing is also a painful process, because you also need to let go of things, and some things so disappear behind the horizon and can hurt. But let's not try to hide that hurt by alcohol and drugs, and so let's we need to be able to accept it, so we can really evolve to a higher consciousness.
Amazing. Thank you for those powerful words. And I think we should move off to Gary and Linda now, and maybe you guys could talk us about how we all came together and how you weaved all of us together, and the inspiration of how your project came along.
Well, yesterday was the first meeting that Wes and Walter and I and Linda had together. In fact, Wes and Walter met each other yesterday. And Wes said something in that meeting that I've been thinking about and just feeling into all day long today. He said, I used to go 100 miles looking for synchronicities. Now, he said, if I go 100 feet and I don't see the synchronicities, I change direction. And so for Linda and myself, this aspect of the project of our lives began about 22 months ago. On a rainy night here in Cotacachi, when I was taking some people home from a party from our house, I ran a stop sign and got smashed on the side by another car, very, very hard. And the car rolled about 20, 30 meters, didn't roll over, but it continued on about 20 or 30 meters and came to a stop in front of a restaurant. And these two people came out of the restaurant, angels, and they took care of everything from that point on. Two beautiful young people. And after about 3 weeks, we were talking. They were taking care of the police, talking to the other people, getting my car fixed, doing all of this stuff. And Jose said, talk to us. He looked at our property and he says, wow, we could put the pigs over there, and we could put the buildings over there. And we said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, we want to build a rehabilitation center for alcohol and drugs. He said, I was in treatment, and I had a vision the last time I was in treatment that Cotacachi needed a facility like this. And so we became involved with them. We worked together. The four of us met every week for about a year, just the four of us, talking about what was going to happen. What were we going to do? And we were calling it at that time a rehabilitation center. And then one day Linda came to the meeting. She says, I don't think we should call it a rehabilitation center. I think we should call it a transformation center, because we're really talking about transforming people's lives, not rehabilitating them, because nobody's broken. And when she said that, it just clicked with everybody, and this whole thing took off. And so now, then we started gathering a few more people around us. We started following, we'd follow one path and the door would close, and we'd follow another path and the door would close. And we developed this phrase that said, everything is in the hands of God. We don't have to worry about it. Because this accident is what brought us together, we never would have met them without that accident. And so obviously God is in charge of this program. Spirit is in charge of this program. So we don't have to worry about what we're doing. We don't even have to think about it. All we do is have to show up and do what is asked for us to do. And so in, Walter said that the four of us got together about 10 years ago, but really I hadn't seen Walter and Laura for probably, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 years. We hadn't connected. We were in the farmer's market about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And I turned around and all of a sudden there was Walter standing there. And he started telling me about this extraction facility that they were building in the jungle. And suddenly it was like a spark hit inside of me. And I saw the connection, this massive connection between what we had been doing for the last 2 years and what he's doing now. And it was like we came together. I felt like we hadn't even been apart for the 5 years, or 10 years. We've been working together all the time, just doing different paths. And now the paths came back together and miracles are happening. And so I get up every day and I say, well, I wonder what synchronicity is going to happen today. And so a week or so ago, I called Wes and I said, hey, Wes, something's going on here. I've known Wes for 15 years probably. I said, something's going on here. I think you're a part of this. And so he started talking, and then Tess, we haven't known you for very long, but my mind said, call Tess. Let's get Tess involved in this thing. And so it's just been a process like that. And it really is when we are capable of surrendering, recognizing that we're not in charge, that Spirit has been guiding us and has been guiding us every step along the way of our lives. When we wake up to that fact, surrender to it, it just simply shows us the next step to take. And that's all we know. That's all we need to know. What's the next step? And the whole picture unfolds beautifully. And so I'm just delighted that that the 6 of us are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us are gathered here together today. It's
And Susan.
And Susan is back there in the background
there somewhere.
And
hi, Susan.
And so there's this just amazing synchronicity.
Can't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
I'm also muted too. I was saying you're muted, but I was muted myself. Yeah.
Hi, Susan.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Susan, for all the work you've been doing for healing humanity and the planet.
Yeah.
Well, it was on my plate. Yes, that was God's direction. For certain. Yes. He sort of tapped me on my shoulder and said, remember me? That was 40 years ago. I celebrated my 40th anniversary of being cancer-free for the second time on January 4th.
Oh my God.
Every January 4th is my celebration. Yeah. So and
That's
I
so
tried the
powerful.
doctors and have a 40-year-old, well, he'll be 41 year old son.
And now a 1-year-old grandson.
Yes. So
Wow.
great grandma.
Wow. Well, the planet
Grandma.
really needed you, Susan, and that's a beautiful story that the planet wanted your light here and your medicine and your codes, your unique codes here on this planet to transform and help all the people around you with your beautiful light.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all of you guys, what you're all doing. I'm working over in the background over here, but I've been listening. So everyone has such a deep heart for healing. So I can sense that all. So it's wonderful.
I agree.
Yeah.
We know, Tess, you asked that question of me and Gary, what we seem like the connectors, and I was thinking how to answer that. And at first it came to me like, Wes and Walter are bringing a very physical aspect right now with the focus of the moment, with the plants and mushrooms and herbs and essences, and that perhaps Gary and I are filling in the spiritual role. And then immediately another answer came and said, no, the connection is the oneness that we're all sharing. As we're talking, I just feel so deeply that invisible, flowing, magnificent spirit, that essence flows through all of us. The plant essence is not alone. That essence is in all of us. That's our connection. And I just am so grateful to be with you guys right now and to experience that living movement flow of spirit through each one of us so deeply in our hearts. So the connector is our hearts connecting to the heart of the planet, the heart of God, the heart of the universe. It's all one. And I just feel that so strongly with each one of you right now, that you've, even though Walter, you and Laura are, and Tess, you're younger than the four of us, you've learned the same lessons. It seems like at an even earlier time because of the way the planet's speeding up and everything is evolving so quickly. You have such a deep, beautiful inner wisdom that you've learned from living here on the planet. And Gary and I have learned that too, that we don't learn those things just by playing and running around and dancing in joy all the time. It's wonderful, but it's those challenges, and Susan knows this so well, it's those challenges that truly teach us who we are and what we're here to do. And
So
my God, well, yes, Wes has his lessons very deeply just recently with his accident. But yeah, so it's the answer in a nutshell is the connection is our connection to source, and being humble enough to recognize that, step back and allow it to flow through us and lead us. And that's when life becomes easy and joyful and so full of satisfaction.
Wow.
Well
I got
said.
goosebumps with that.
My goal is to keep meeting angels all the time without having a fatal accident.
Oh yeah, Gary too. I told
like
Gary, yeah.
Like Gary said, we were taken care of by an angel for several months when we still couldn't function, and we're still in touch with her today. She'll probably come to Ecuador sometime. She's literally an angel. So, and Hannah was for Susan. So these things we go through, those are the hard times, like you said. That's where, boy, if you get through those times and you're willing to surrender and do that, you really can. The universe provides the angels. They come right up. If you need help, they're right there. So that's a real,
Yes.
there's a lot of gifts to be had on, even though you can go through rough times, there's a lot of gifts. So if you're open, yeah.
Well, it is amazing that you and Gary both had a deep synchronicity with these accidents and recognizing that angels came forward. But I agree with you that, yeah, let's move on from that. And I like you're saying, let's just let the angels flow without the other part.
Well, we try and keep, when we meet the angels, we try and keep them in touch with them. We like having them around. We can use the help, yeah. And I think it's wonderful that at the young age that Laura and Walter are already, I'm very a slow learner, I guess, because I'm almost twice their age and I'm just learning what they're, and what a beautiful thing to have young people, because I think that's really the answer. I was thinking while you were speaking, you have in the United States, the young people are in general, not all, but there's a segment that isn't, but are very, very lost, very confused, suicide rates up. They just have no hope, no future, because they've been so bombarded with all the bad things. I think to have a place like you're talking, and maybe in the summer they can come down and work, some of them on a scholarship thing or something, but also for them to be able to have that and take that back into America, into the society, and to their peers and to the other people. What a blessing. I mean, being in Ecuador for me is the easiest thing in the world. Being in US, not so easy. But I've had some experience and a lot of time to try to learn to do that. These young people, they don't, I just don't think they are grounded and have that closeness to nature like we're talking about. It could be so important for some young people to be able to come down and experience those things, I think, because I see it missing in the United States, in the society here. I don't know. I'm just glad I grew up when I did. Sometimes I get up in the morning a little slow, but I'm grateful to have lived in the 50s and 60s where maybe it hadn't quite gotten so sophisticated and AI wasn't going to take over or something. You know? We had nuclear war. I guess that's as bad. But you know, I just think it's wonderful that to see young people that are already coming to what I'm just coming to. I say, wow, those are fast learners, you know? And so, yeah, so it's a blessing to be around young people, and not that all of us at every age, the connection's important. And the work is obviously in front of us. I think I've never felt about always, oh, well, this year is going to be the year. People say that, but that's from the head. From the heart, this is the first time I've really felt this is a critical time. Everything we do can have impact. People are seeking, they're looking, and they're lost. And I think any little thing you can do to be everything we've just talked and embodied, I think is going to be, it's a bomb for that is so needed right now. So I think the work is so critical. I can't think of better work. You know, I think it's just what is that everyone needs, the planet, everything has all come together for all of us to where, yeah, sometimes you don't know quite what to do. I think the work is very well laid out and very clear right now for us. So that's nice. Yeah.
Well, being a young person in this group, I'd like to thank you, because I feel like it is your generation, the elder generation, that actually paved the way for us and made it easier for people like us, for our generation, to wake up spiritually sooner. Because if you think about it, you guys didn't have the internet. You didn't have the knowledge that we have at our fingertips at any moment. It was a lot more challenging for you guys to access the teachers and to access the teachings. You know, it was all done by word of mouth and in person. And I feel like the work that you guys did really just paved the way. And it's and each generation, I don't know if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, but she calls it the 3 waves of volunteers on the new earth. And she said the first wave had it the hardest. And that was the real hippies, you know, that came and spread peace instead of war in the times of war, and you guys were all about peace and love and spreading that love from your heart. And that was the first generation. You guys were like the real black sheep of the planet, you know. And now it's more like not as woo-woo. Now we're all kind of, there's so many more hippies, and we're kind of more accepted of who we are and what we're doing on the planet. And so I really am humbled by the service that all of you elder generation did to make the world where it is now, because I feel like it's easier now than it was in your time. So I just wanted to give that.
But it's certainly all hands on deck. I'm sure of that. So all of us bring a great contribution, and it's the synergy of that, like you're saying, to honor each other and to understand that everybody has a piece, everybody has a part, every plant that we discover has a part. And if we honor all those things, it's that whole that we really have to come back to. So
right.
No, it's connected between the different tribes, the different communities around the world, but it's also from babies to grown-ups. Yeah, the connection, yeah, it has to be really an integrated system, yeah, that moves as one, which we already are. We just are denying it all the time and working against it almost with so at the end, yeah, there's one reality, and we're all part of that, but we need to also consciously work that. And so one of the things also we already do it small. So we receive once a year, we receive a group of people. My sister, she does family constellations, but with horses. And we have also a bunch of horses here on the farm. So she brings people that she's working with in Holland here to also drink ayahuasca. And these are normally, yeah, pretty like directors of bigger companies and stuff. And this year there was one woman, she's like a director of PricewaterhouseCoopers, so quite a position. And she had one question because she didn't feel anything anymore. And so she came here to Ecuador to work with the horses and to drink also ayahuasca because she wanted to feel again. And just at the gate of our land, my sister said they were driving in with a taxi, and she started crying. My sister asked her, what's happening? She said, yeah, so it's so beautiful here. So I can feel all the love that has been put in here, and that is all around here. She said, even if I have to go home right now, yeah, I have. So my mission was accomplished. So part of our dream is also, we are already looking here around, because it's a very special valley that I think that we're in. And so we really hope to also create like a university or a place, not only for people to come and to learn about plants, but also to be here in this overwhelming life system. I would almost say it's so biodiverse here. There's so much sound, and water is everywhere, and everywhere there's birds, and so for people to experience that, right? Because if you are just here for a few weeks, you start really rethinking everything, and it's very healing. So we really hope at some point we can create that, to not only share the knowledge about the plants and so send people home with a lot of new ideas, but also for just let them be here, and talk with an indigenous person that has lived a very different life, and only talks about the spiritual world, really. And because the strength of the indigenous and of all Ecuadorians, I would say in general, is they are very, very connected with the earth. So even if like they have a huge economic crisis, they just go all back to the family, start growing potatoes again, which they don't start really fighting, or there's no real chaos. It's very, very special because they are so down to earth, literally. And so a lot of things that come together, I think, here in Ecuador.
I love that. Go ahead, Linda.
I was going to say that it's so amazing how what's happening now here in Cotacachi with Gary and these other people. It does just seem to move like this. It just goes along for a week, and then boom, it bursts out into a whole different direction, many different directions, and more people coming. And as you're talking, Walter, I'm realizing that what you're already doing too, in addition to the plants and the essences, is you've already created a transformation center right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've been talking with Jose and Cody how we want this little center here in Cotacachi to be a prototype for these types of centers popping up all over the world. And now I realize you're already doing it and very much in line with what we want to do. And so we're starting with people with what can seem like the most severe addictions or difficulties with drugs and alcohol, and starting with men, but it will branch into a center for women and one for teens, and a place for abused women and children to have a whole different new kind of educational system. I mean, it just goes on and on, creating businesses. And so what I'm getting is that it's almost like we really don't even have to think about it or try to figure out how to do it, because it's already happening. It's like to me, it's like the whole plan of source is presented to us right in front of us. And all we're here to do is just have the joy of opening the curtains and say, wow, here's another piece. It's already unfolding by itself. We don't have to be in charge. And then we go to the next curtain. Whoa, look at this. And that really we have turned a very crucial point in the evolution of our planet. I feel the bursting forth of the new paradigm so strongly right now that it just fills me with so much joy and appreciation for being here with all of you. And we can bring this message to mankind, and it doesn't have to be preaching and teaching even that much. It's just like, we just show up. I mean, Walter, you and Laura are doing it, and you're just showing up. And this woman just came to the gate and got it. How wonderful is that? Wow. Thank you for that story.
Yeah, Linda, what you were saying resonates so much. And I wanted you to expand on that, because when I spoke to you guys yesterday, you were telling me about the current rehabilitation centers in Ecuador. Could you tell me a little bit more about what the current system is and how yours will differ, and how yours is more of a holistic approach to it?
Well, it comes from just the experience that Gary and I have had together with our meditation practice and how it's changed our lives. We used to laugh very, very much and realize that with our particular teacher, we were in some of the first classes, the teacher trainings that he offered, and it was so difficult. It was just chaos. You know, there'd be fighting and screaming and emotional releasing and traumatized people running around, and you know, it was. And we did a lot of inner work, a lot of emotional releasing of our own trauma, and going very deep into repressed feelings and memories. And it felt all the world as if we were taking a machete to the jungle of our mind, cutting through the tangles and the roots and the attachments and addictions that we had to belief systems that don't work, and you know, just all the stuff that we're socialized into as children when we come to the planet as a baby, you know, so pure and innocent, and then just starts all the conditioning and negative belief systems. So it really, but it feels like what we're doing now is just an extension of the inner awareness that we've been blessed to achieve by being together and working through our difficulties. You know, so it's just that in what we now realize, as I said in the beginning, it's like there really isn't anything wrong with anything on the planet. And I know it's very easy to get into deep discussions about why that doesn't seem true. And I do admit there are still many things that I don't see that perfection. You know, things like, you know, what we're hearing about, sexual exploitation of children and women, and you know, torture. And I mean, I won't go into it, but you probably know some of the things that are being brought to our attention are so horrific I can barely speak of them. And I have not within myself reconciled that that's perfect yet, but for many things I have, many things about myself. And so our message in this transformation center is to welcome people who come in and want to have help for what we call now addictions. But what for me, all that means is we all have attachments to things on the outside that we think are going to make us happy or feel good or bring us money or status or the partner we want. And in my life, none of that works. None of that has ever worked. When I found my attachment on the inside to source, I came home west. My home is inside here. And it's this invisible connection to source that I can live from every moment. And it brings me everything. It brings me safety, abundance, a partner, a lifelong partner. Everything that I want truly is coming from something that I can't see. So I know that it's not on the outside. So that's the main message, is that to welcome people in, no matter what their difficulty or what they think is going on. So it's for people, everybody on the planet has an addiction or something that they think is going to make them happy that never does. It can be an addiction to anger. I just found out that there's a classification now for a talking addiction. People who just talk all the time and can't stop. I didn't even know that was one, but we're noticing it here, you know, and so we all have it. We can all come in and together just explore that in a very non-threatening, safe environment where people are welcomed no matter what's going on, and we can help show them that what they think is a problem in their life is really probably their greatest gift. It's the secret to their life's purpose. And we both know that in our own lives, and that's the message that we want to share with others. It doesn't have to be horrible. You're not a bad person. Here in Ecuador, we're just finding out that some of the treatment centers can be quite brutal and very punitive. They beat people and starve them. I had no idea, and I don't know that it's true. I hope it's not, but I've been hearing that. And so that definitely is not the direction that we are wanting to take.
Well, so the approach that we're taking is that we understand that the old system of treating addictions has not been very successful. For some people, it has been, but for many people it has not been. And so our opening and our prayer is simply, show us a way that works. Show us a way that can help people find themselves at a very deep level and can come out of it to be the person who they really are, not the facade that they have created to protect themselves often from the deep feelings that they have inside that they don't want to face. And interestingly enough, Walter connected us to a psychologist in Quito who has he's been a psychologist working with addictions for 40 years. This is another synchronicity. So Walter connected us with this person.
Thank you, Walter.
We had a phone call with him about 3 days ago. And when we met him, it was on Zoom. When we met him, it was like, oh my God, this guy is he's there. He's just so peaceful and so calm. And he was at an ayahuasca retreat that was gifted to him on the Napo River down in Tena, one of the main tributaries of the Amazon River. And so next week we're going to go to Quito to visit he and the director of this treatment center that they have in Quito. And they have had great success using master plants to literally heal addictions. So we're going to go down there. That's the door that's opening up to us now. We're going to explore that. We found out that they're doing he's doing a 10-month training session for existing therapists to train them in how to use master plants for healing addictions. So I'm just excited to see what's going to happen next Wednesday when we go to visit this guy. And so every time a door opens, we just simply walk through it. And we walk through, and if it shuts down, oh, okay, so we'll turn and we'll go to the next door, because there's always a door that's opening.
With something more wonderful.
With something more wonderful. So
and the doors that are opening right now, nearly all of them are plant related.
Yeah.
So it's like no brainer. That's the direction we're taking, and we're praying and asking for something much easier, more gentle and loving, faster, something more universal that can help all of us to move more into who we really are. And it seems to be plants in this moment.
So just this morning, I was with a group of people in Ibarra. There were 4 PhDs and 5 of us non-PhDs. And we started talking about how are we going to create the primary material that Walter needs to feed his plant, because this plant that he's building is incredible, and it's going to have a very large appetite. And so we need to be able to create that primary material that Walter needs to provide these essences from the plant that we can take out and heal the rest, heal whoever wants to use them. So the plan that is developing is this one PhD he's a biotechnologist. He has been working with mushrooms and medicinal plants for quite a few years. A young guy, about the same age as you, you guys maybe a little bit older, but he is extremely passionate about what he's doing, and he loves what he's doing. And so we started talking about psilocybin, and he happens to be he brought out a psilocybin plant that he was growing. It was just little baby psilocybin mushroom. And then he started telling us a story about how he had read about in France, there's people who have been using psilocybin mushroom tincture injections, and that they have healed 30,000 addicts simply by injecting them with psilocybin mushroom extract. So it's like, boom. So now we're going to go talk to this guy in Quito that has been exploring these master plans. And we just don't know where this is going to lead. But the one thing that I do know is that Spirit is showing us that there is a better way to do what has been attempted to do for a long time, and that is to get people off of their addiction. And I'm not just talking about people with drug and alcohol addiction. I'm talking about people that have all kinds of addictions that prevent them from going inside and finding out the real person inside that is now blocked by the traumas that we are holding within us. And I believe that the master plants have the capability of doing that. And we just simply have to wake ourselves up and watch around us and look for the synchronicities.
Can you imagine, Gary? Can you guys imagine? I mean, right now I'm just putting out that prayer. What if a couple of one or a couple of shots of psilocybin extract could heal addictions that fast? And then all of these wonderful people can just go running down to Mendo and play in Walter and Laura's gardens and just, do the further healing, that this addiction healing is the first step. And then there's just all the healing the additional traumas and learning what you want to do and learning to play with the plants and the horses and children. I mean, isn't that a beautiful vision? I can see it.
I think also the master plans, they play a key role in the mental health of all people all over the world. Yeah, if you see now how many people are, so also the pharmaceutical industry doesn't have really any solutions for these people. They can turn you into a zombie that doesn't care about anything anymore, just watch television and eat pizza. Yeah, but the master plans can really help people to get out of their anxiety, their sleeplessness, their blockages. Yeah, it's very, very important that we stop seeing these things as drugs like cocaine or something, because they're on the same list. Yeah, and just now in Spain, like a bunch of people were put in jail for working with ayahuasca. Yeah, so it's very important, and there is also things happening. Licenses are given. Also, these people, these friends that Tilo, that I connected Gary with. So in Ecuador, so we're also working on a license so we can start working with these mushrooms and also with the ayahuasca, the DMT, the mescaline, the iboga, which is absolutely a key plant for drug addictions. And we, especially my partner, he has been 27 years. His focus was always the master plants. Yeah, so we have all the expertise to make very beautiful, very clean extracts out of this that we can send around the world. The laboratory here will be pharmaceutical grade, so we can standardize. We can give very, very good medicine for people anywhere in the world. So we really hope, and at the end, I think there will be not another way for governments to release them. Yeah, so people can really heal, because otherwise, the collective trauma is just going to get out of hand more and more. So, I think.
Oh, so what we talked about in this meeting this morning is we have a foundation, and it's called Foundation Ebenezer. And we talked about that our foundation will make a contract with Walter, provide the plants that we can grow around here in this area where we live. And we have a very diverse area. We've got the Intag Valley where we can grow a certain kind of plants. We've got the high mountains. It's a very diverse geography where we can grow many different kinds of plants. So we will then we're talking about setting up a demonstration mushroom grow in our foundation, in our center that we have here, so that we can bring people in and show them, look, this is what we're doing. You can do it too. And we will help you set up. Julio, the PhD that's passionate about this, he has the capability to set up small grows with very little money. train the people how to grow the mushrooms, train how to harvest them. So our foundation will make a contract with individual growers. Whatever they can produce, we will buy and resell it to Walter. So an interesting thing about this, we still have that mushroom here. So Julio gave me a mushroom today when we left. It's an oyster mushroom. I want to show it to you. This is, look at how big, it's as big as my head.
It's gorgeous and delicious. I made a stir fry.
Okay, so this mushroom has 21.4% protein, and it grows in 19 days. Now, if you take a chicken, with a chicken, it's going to take about a year to get the protein, and you eat it and it's gone. With this type of a mushroom, with this oyster mushroom, which also has strong medicinal value, it has strong high protein, so that the people that we're encouraging to teaching how to grow these mushrooms will also have a new food source for themselves and their family that is extremely nutritious, that is plant-based, that is extremely sustainable. In 19 days, in a 15 or 20 square foot area, they can set up a grow to provide food for their family and enough to gain a little bit of income. We can do it a little bigger and they can gain more income. And the key word here is sustainable and organic. So we begin to teach them how to live a different kind of lifestyle, because now many of the indigenous here are eating, processed foods, things that are not healthy for them. Plus, much of the food now that is coming in is highly polluted with pesticides and insecticides. The soil is depleted, as we talked about earlier, so we can use the mushrooms to improve the soil. So the whole idea is to help people find an economic income, to help them improve their diet, to teach them about how to live sustainably in the land and how to care for the earth. And it's really reintroducing their ancestral knowledge to them, that many of these people were living 100 years ago. They were living like that,
or 50
in many cases. So that part of what came out of this meeting today. And again, every meeting that we have, the energy starts at a certain level, and as we start talking about what's happening, the energy grows, and the energy grows as people begin opening up to the possibility of what can actually happen here. And Wes has some other technologies that we can virtually eliminate chemical fertilizers, chemical input, and grow things organically. For example, we have about 500 meters from our farm here in Ecuador, we have a flower farm that employs 250 people. This flower farm has been a huge economic boon for the area around here. We live in the middle of 3 indigenous villages here in Cotacachi, and now a lot of people who used to have to go to work in Quito now find their source of work, literally within a kilometer of their home. So it's been a huge economic boon. But from a health perspective, they're using an incredible amount of pesticides and chemical fertilizers and all kinds of sprays that's really deteriorating the health. So part of the transformation that is coming in spontaneously by Wes showing up and say, hey, I've got something that is going to be able to change that, to transform that flower farm from a pesticide fertilizer-based operation into a water hydrogen-based operation. Plants are going to love it. They don't need fertilizer. They're going to be able to increase their production. And everybody is going to be so much happier and so much more content. And we still answer the economic issue. So, you know, this just goes on and on. It's like every area that we look, something is coming in and boom, it's transformation. It's transformation. And it's not us doing it. It's just simply the time that it's ready to happen. And we happen to be the messengers, the antennas that are picking up this message right now. But we're certainly not in control of it or even guiding it or directing it. It's just simply us showing up and saying, okay, what is possible now?
Wow.
So now, one of the things we need is that we need some funding in order to begin building the structure that we need. And I know it's out there because we manifested a 35-bed transformation center, brand new, fully equipped, beds, blankets, computers, desks, was designed and built to be an alcohol and drug rehabilitation center. And we went from nothing to within 6 weeks operating this facility. It just appeared out of the blue. I won't go into how it happened, but it was miraculous.
It was miraculous too to get the $4,000 for the first rent payment. When 5 weeks ago we didn't have anything at all.
We didn't have any money whatsoever.
So thank God we've passed that first hurdle.
Doing God's work, you're always provided for. That's when you're in service, you'll always have everything you need and everything will come to you.
It came not at the very last minute, like 72 hours past the time it was due, and the owner of the center was considering kicking us out, and we were able to show up with the money. Oh, thank goodness.
And it works like that as a test of faith, right? So we have that's we get tested, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So Wes and Tess, you two have lots of contacts in this area. We have the physical structure down here. We have the paperwork structure. We have the ideas and we have the personnel who are fired up about this idea. And now we need, we're open to receiving some financial resources that will help us kick this off. So however the two of you can dip into your heart and say, which direction do we go from here?
And Casey's helping.
Oh yeah, we have a fundraiser here too that's helping. Casey.
You'd asked me, I thought that's what the meeting was about. I didn't really know what the meeting was about, but I thought it was about what we finally just came to. And that's okay, it's all okay how it works. But two things. One, I have some really great studies I can send you on using hydrogen water with growing mushrooms that'll pretty much blow your mind. But I know you're having it blown all the time anyway, so you're used to it. But also, I did do last night, I actually stayed up till 2:30 in the morning looking and just doing some cursory research. And the good news, which you're already used to because you know that that's the way things are working now, is there's an abundance of funding. And I was really surprised. I had about 80 to 100 foundations I used to raise money for. It helped them set up, raise money. It was a business development person. And I haven't done that for a long time, so I have not gone online and looked for any money or done anything like that for, 15 years or I don't know. So I was very happily surprised to find out I wrote down maybe 2 pages, but I gave up. But because sometimes I would go and look for money for a foundation and I didn't come up with anything. But there's really quite an abundance that addresses what all of you are doing. I didn't look so much for Gary for the treatment center side. I looked more for what the Amazon and the growing the plants and and preserving the indigenous culture and the heritage and everything that is there in Ecuador hasn't been destroyed. Try to keep it from being destroyed and honor and protect it. And also, I basically put in medicinal plants, plant medicine, things like that. And there's really quite an abundance of available resources that researchers could go down those roads, start making those applications, start writing those letters. So, and I spent a few hours because I was just sort of surprised. I kept going and wow, I was surprised what I found. So I was very happily surprised. I didn't expect to see what I saw. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't need to be turned, those contacts don't need to be turned into, money, but as you said, that's the way things are working, they're showing up, and that is right in line too. No problem in terms of, and there's just quite a few, like, and maybe Voiter already knows some of these, but like the Amazon Conservation Team and the Amazon Frontline, Amazon Conservation Association.
Is it okay, Wouter, Wes, if I interrupt? I wanted to wrap up this part of the section of the video.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea to complete
and then
that,
we could go into the other part of it.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, no, that's
I
okay.
thought that's what the meeting was
I
about.
opened up the door.
I've been patiently waiting all this time because I worked till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry, I got a little out of control.
Yeah, because this part for me, this is us just presenting the projects to the world. And that was the intention of the call. And then I think wrap this part up, and then afterwards we can go into the specifics of the funding.
Oh, that makes total sense. So
Yeah.
you said it, I knew it was the line.
No,
Yeah.
it's totally great. It's totally great. And I just wanted to say one more thing, which I'm really excited about, Wes, which I would like you to talk about, is this organic fertilizer. That for me sounds very, very exciting. Something that could be used across Ecuador and across the world, really, is organic fertilizer. That's what we need. And that's something I feel very passionate in getting out to the world. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
And I muted myself to calm myself down. So sometimes I get excited. I apologize, but I'll try and get a very short version. So I've been working for 20 years or so with biomimicry, which is looking at the most vibrant soil in its original version and what was there, what biome is there, what bugs are there, because the bugs are what break everything down and feed it to the plants. And we've gotten rid of most of that. So I've been working with that for a long time, but in the last year or so, we discovered that there's some gases like CO2, oxygen, hydrogen, that these natural gases actually give the plant what it needs to do what it needs to do and reverses any damage that has been done to the plant. And so when you infuse water with those gases, especially hydrogen is what my main, the main one I want to work with, just because nobody else is working with it. There are people using oxygen with the plants and getting more oxygen to the roots. And so when you do this, not only do you need not as much water, but you also don't need all of these other inputs that everybody's using. And so it acts as a fertilizer only because it's giving the plants what they need, so they don't need all this other artificial. It's sort of like a person on drugs. They might be able to stay alive, but they're not healthy. So using these things that nature has provided that we're just now discovering. I mean, Japan discovered them maybe 15 years ago, but they haven't been put into commercial use. Lots of research, but not in commercial use. So that's what I've started putting together, is to bring that technology to the plant world, and not so much Amazon. That's pretty good. I think it is in good shape. But when you get to places that have been commercially farmed, yeah, they've destroyed most of that microbiome in the soil. So we've been working in it, and then just happened to discover that there's a lot of research already on using these gases infused in water, natural gas like hydrogen, oxygen, and ozone and CO2, nitrogen, that the plant will uptake that. It's a match. It's like they have the receptors. It's just a match. Instead of trying to give them nitrogen and phosphorus out of rocks, it helps. It's like a drug. If you took a drug, it might give you energy if you took cocaine, but it's going to destroy you. So at some point, so it's just an exciting field, and so that's what we're sort of bringing to the mix. Yeah.
That's very exciting. I love that so much. And that's something I hope that we can bring to the whole world, because we really, like you said, we have to repair from the soil up. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think Ecuador is where my heart is, so I would like to start there. I don't know how, commercially how it'll be accepted or how, but I'm gonna try and see. I know in Mexico it won't be hard, and US, I'm sure it will go very well too, but I just have a heart for helping Ecuador, and so that's a lot where my focus has been. But certainly it's something that I believe is very disruptive, and so it could really take off and grow. If it does, any income from that, it really is dedicated to this sacred gifts work we do to do that work. Not to, I don't need more cars and toys but I don't need anything. I'm fine. But to take that and put that into this kind of work we're talking about, so that you can leave a legacy and teach the young people and give them some hope, and hope maybe we can turn this thing around and get, headed on an even better path. So
beautiful. And I just wanted to wrap up with saying that Gaia Warriors is a ministry, and I'm going to be having a donation funnel so that any money comes in will be going to these projects around the world. And starting off with your guys' project, I feel called to allow that money to flow to what you guys are doing. And you were talking about licensing, Wouter, with doing medicine. When you do it as a ministry and you administer the plant medicine as a faith, as part of your faith, that's how we can navigate these sort of laws that have prohibited us from our true birthright, really. And so Gaia Warriors is a ministry, and what you guys are doing, if you need to set up ministries in Ecuador to navigate these sort of laws, that's what I would recommend. And
are you doing a PMA? How are you doing your
PMA
okay.
and ministry, a church?
Yeah, no, I'm totally aware, and we're in the process of doing that. I just want to, I'm not always a perfectionist, but I really want to do this right, because it could be controversial if not done. So I'm taking the time to look at all the sources and all the information around that, and be sure that I have a very, very tight documents and everything is the way it needs to be. So I'm in that process. Yeah.
Amazing. That's awesome. So if there's any last comments, I'd like to wrap up this section and finish recording. Is there any last comments from anybody else in the group that would like to be shared? Okay, great. The only thing that I want, Wouter, you're trying to
Walter is talking, but he's muted.
I see his
I'm not sure what you said about creating a ministry. So that I have something to say to that, but I'm not sure if that belongs to the part we're closing off or the new part, because that's very much the US situation. So we, since we are one of the principal providers, for example, of ayahuasca ingredients, especially in Europe, but also in the United States. So we have many of our clients are like indigenous churches. But in Europe, for example, that does not work like that. We have tried it. Because we are organized, very well organized in Europe. But in Holland, we have, so the Santo Daime has prosecuted until the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has said, no, it is up to the politicians to decide if this is a religious movement or not. And with that, they have kind of killed off, at least in Holland, the road to giving it as like freedom of religion, no? Because that's what what works in the US. But every constitution is written differently. In Holland now, we have the next step that there's 2 steps open basically to the ayahuasca community, which is really big. Is go to the European Supreme Court, which has the risk that if they say, like if they go with the Dutch decision of the Dutch Supreme Court, that it is not religious freedom, it's not covered under religious freedom, it would go for all of the European Union. So many communities in other countries that are now kind of unbothered are very wary about that. So what the road in Europe now is more to go through therapeutic uses. So we're now trying to like standardize also, okay, if you give ayahuasca ceremony, go through certain documentation, so contraindications, have a doctor on standby, have a psychologist that can help out. So that is the path in Europe. In Ecuador, the situation is much better, which also confirmed that our choice for Ecuador was kind of great. Here, the Ministry of Health can just give you a permit, and you can work with all these plants because this is indigenous knowledge, which is protected in the Constitution. Yeah, so it seems that we're going to get a license that we can so produce and also extract all master plants from South America, which means we can work mescaline, we can work coca, we can work ayahuasca.
But this is pretty much off record. This is not something that we publicly will share.
We first want to get the license before we start celebrating, but friends of us have gotten the license. So, and it looks like we're going to get it. So in Ecuador, the situation is really much better even than in the United States.
We were going to do it. I thought it'd be half hour.
Well, always is true that way.
When do you anticipate that you may have the certification?
Today, Nicole went for another chat at the Ministry of Health. So it can go really quick, but yeah, maybe also we discuss maybe the mother of Noboa, or we can use help. But it looks like that they have nothing really against it, because also here it's much more recognized that this is an important part of the Ecuadorian health system. Yeah, when in the United States, our friend Nixon and his buddies decided it is a drug that drives you crazy. So yeah, luckily we have a different situation here, which does not mean, of course, that we can export it without the receiving party also having a license to receive it and work with it. But that is happening with the psilocybin, for example, because it's one of the few things that works. So more and more clinics are pushing. In countries like Switzerland, there's clinics already that have licenses to work with it. In the US also. So it's really about to open up. We have the knowledge, and we're going to have like a pharmaceutical certified lab here that we're in the final stages of opening it up. But what we need is also, support from people that believe also that this is the way. So we can, set up the growing, that we can do that, or have a testing facility, so we can really, have it pharmaceutical quality, but based on natural products. So we just can use all the help we can get, so we can have more impact, grow faster, and get out the story also more widely around the world. So
what do you think about sometime down the road, seeing if President Noboa's mother, who's very much into plant medicine, if she might become a spokesman, or even just do an article or a video or something to promote us? Yeah,
no, so we have to, so it looks like we're already getting it the way we are, these friends got it, so which is Tilo and his team. So we would really like to have the first license, so we have a bit more, so because also if she starts interfering with the Ministry of Health, it can also backfire, that they say, don't get involved, it's none of your business. So we need to be strategic on this one. And once we have the license, we're in a much better position, because then also we can defend the license.
Is the US, the universities in the US, I mean, that's where much of this kind of research, back in my time when I was your age, that's where it took place. And I haven't heard anything about it for 20, 30 years, but are there, I would think there, and I'd be willing to look if you may already know, but a university would be very open to working with you and would have the licenses to import that. I have connections with several universities that are doing research in cannabis. They may be open to do that. Do you know, is that something that's easy to do?
Yeah, well, we are talking with one laboratory that they say they are the first ones that can work with all the master plants, so they can extract them, distribute them, etc. And they would like, when it comes to the South American plants, that we do that we basically just provide them, because they have plenty of work. I think they were in California, but now I'm moving to another, because they're going to be like next to a big university. I can get you the name of that company. to have like an idea of what we are looking for. But also, of course, when a university has a license, we can just provide them, because they can just use FedEx or whatever, just pick it up in Quito with their license. We put here the papers that we produced it legally and that it has a COA, etc. And it can just go ahead. So I think really for Ecuador also as a country, this whole bioeconomy, so can for partly be based on the master plans, because the world needs them very much.
Thank you, Wouter, for sharing that and clarifying around the different, rules around the world that we have to abide by. So that was helpful. And I really would like to just wrap up this section of the call right now. And I just want to say how groundbreaking it is that I think that the work that you guys are doing, especially taking a holistic approach to healing people. I really liked what you were saying, Linda. I feel like a lot of people that have addictions are demonized and are made to feel like they are shamed and that there's something wrong with them, instead of it being treated like an illness or a trauma response to something that happened to them that, is actually not their fault. And so I think it's really beautiful that you're taking that approach. I hope that we can see transformation centers around the world helping people with addictions and taking a more holistic approach with helping the spiritual side, using the plants. And also then what I love what you said, Gary, is teaching people then to be connected to the earth. So many nonprofits and organizations will, instead of like teaching the people how to fish, they'll just give them a fish and walk away. But if you teach the people how to fish, you teach the people how to grow, you teach the people how to be sustainable, and you empower people with the knowledge of how they can make an income, how they can be connected, grow their own food, how they can, basically live a holistic life where they can be sovereign and they can feel empowered, that they can support their families and just be in harmony with the world. I think that is very powerful, and I'm very, very inspired by all the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for being here with me and for sharing your message. And I will do everything I can to get your message out to the world and get the funding that you guys all deserve. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All of you.
Yeah. This was an exciting call for me.
Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you for watching. If this resonated and you wish to be a part of the change, please share and subscribe for more content.